Hello and welcome back to the Crux Spotlight podcast series. Crux Product Design is a leading product design agency that works with a variety of organisations in diverse sectors. I'm Dominic Walters and I'm continuing my conversations with key people in Crux to find out more about what makes good product design and also what makes Crux so effective at doing it. Today we're going to be talking more about design itself, and to do that I'm joined by Hugo Jamson, who is head of the design function here at Crux. Hugo, welcome. To start with, let's define some terms. So in your mind, what makes great product design?
So that's a great question, and it's a question that I think preoccupies designers very much. I think it's a question with an answer that's changed a lot over the decades that product design has existed as a really important discipline, working with clients and working with brands. And good product design obviously is about the thing itself, the product itself. It could be a physical product, it could be a digital product. But what's become more and more important is that product design needs to reach into other parts of businesses. So great product design thinks as much about strategy as it does about that artifact. Great product design is about defining the experiences for brands. So how does that brand want to be felt by consumers? How does it want to be understood as a brand that's part of the future, not part of the present or past? And then there's a whole end piece as well as defining the upstream strategy, defining experiences. There's the whole piece around what happens to products when they've reached the end of their life. So what do product designers need to learn, need to do differently in a changing environment of policy, a changing environment of what consumers expect their products to do and be when they finish using them. So I think the main thing is that good product design has become and is much more about more than just the thing itself. It's a lot more either side of that thing that we need to be dealing with as designers.
Yeah, so it's the thing itself, it's the experience of people using it, it's how does it reflect where the brand is and where it needs to be, and interesting also about thinking about end of life at the start. So how do you understand all this stuff when you're starting to think about design?
There are a number of things. I think defining the experience is key. So, brands don't just exist as the products that we buy from them. They make promises to us. They have strategies where they want to define new segments of the market that are going to be profitable for them, but also going to be great devices and objects for us to use, whatever the sector is. It could be in consumer electronics, could be in packaging, could be in even medical devices or transport. I think the same applies across all. So defining that experience is, I think, one of the key parts of the designer's toolkit, because from that you can articulate with that business, with that brand, well, where do you want to be in people's homes, on their bodies, out in the world? Is the idea that you have correct, or are there better ones? Are there new opportunities? If you can define the experience, you can start to articulate all of these different possible touch points that you have with a consumer. And that can be physical stuff, but increasingly a product is not just a thing. Mm-hmm. It's surrounded by a digital experience. It's surrounded by a sales experience. How do you find it? How do you buy it? And as I said, there's all the stuff that is increasingly important about what you do with that thing once you finish using it.
So maybe it never was, but it's not just a case of taking a brief and going away and being creative. I know that's important, but it sounds like a lot of conversations you need to have as part of that design process.
Definitely, and it doesn't diminish the importance of designing a thing beautifully with sensitivity, and that's something that Crux do incredibly well as the sort of the more of the end-to-end that we're talking about here. So understanding user needs, we have human factors teams here that do that brilliantly, articulating those as to what are the changes that need to be made with a product, or what are the opportunities that need to be fleshed out in a new product, and then working with those engineering teams to actually make that a reality. All of that we do brilliantly here.
Well, talking about what you do brilliantly here, and obviously you do because you've won a lot of awards around design. So let's talk in more detail, please, Hugo, about what it is about the Crux approach to design that is different and how that benefits clients.
So at Crux, we have a really powerful mix of capabilities. We're starting to call this mix experiential product engineering. That's how we're starting to describe that to ourselves, to our clients. And then what that really means is we have the teams and we have the capabilities to really explore what experiences brands want to craft for their customers in the future. So we're brilliant at navigating the future, at identifying trends or signals of where businesses are going, and start to map that into strategies and start to map that into plans for, well, you need to be telling these kind of stories to your customers. We're our product design teams who are, in part usability focused, but also very much the craft of industrial design. So we bring that product design piece to start to articulate again what experiences matter to our clients. But what we also have is engineering capability, where we can actually produce these products for market, or as close to market as our clients need to get them. And I think it's the interplay of those things that's really important. So we can de-risk some of that early, quite blue sky thinking by having engineers in-house, so it can de-risk some of those thoughts. Because a lot of design can be quite conceptual, but I think more and more it's this mix of experiential and engineering that matters to clients.
Right. And so you don't just go up with a good idea, you go back with a good idea and say, we know this will work, and it will deliver what you need to deliver, and it will reinforce the brand that you need to or want to portray.
Yeah, I think the design as a discipline sort of stretches quite wide. Mm-hmm. So we were talking a little bit earlier about you can go from strategy all the way through to market. And I think what is fascinating, what is powerful about Crux is we can stretch a lot of our capability across all of that. So we can help articulate, define the future, as well as sort of actually get that really closer and into market. And as you say, by having all of that in one place, we de-risk those earlier conceptual ideas.
Yes, and that must be a powerful factor for clients, to taking that risk out, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell that you're excited about this. I can tell that you enjoy this. So what is it that drives you about design? What do you personally get most excited about?
I think for me, so I have a background in two halves. So I am trained in social anthropology, right, and I'm a product designer as well. And I think for me, the most sort of exciting bits of the product design process, or being a product designer, about understanding the future, understanding where society is moving, where consumers are moving, where brands are moving, and then trying to pinpoint opportunity spaces, because those are those are hugely valuable to brands if you can navigate and try and pin down where you need to be. So I find that really exciting, like trying to identify those, make them really exciting, really easy to understand for people I'm working with. But then also I'm really interested in being on the journey that the industry is taking towards becoming more sustainable, which is being solved piecemeal, but is not solved yet, but I think is just increasingly going to be a huge component of our discipline.
Let's go back to the sustainability then. You said it's being solved piecemeal. So what are the bits that you think we're getting right around sustainability, and where do we still need to work and focus on?
So one thing we are doing at Crux at the moment, so there's a lot of businesses have lots of data about their emissions of different scopes. But a lot of businesses, they have that data, but it's held in different places and they don't really know what to do with it. So one thing we're increasingly doing is taking that data and making that really accessible and visualizing that data in a way that can be used by lots of different stakeholders across a business. And not just as an end goal, so you've got your data, that's great, but how do you use that as a springboard to determine new products? Right. So how do you need to change what's inside packaging? How do you need to change the material or shape of that packaging? How do you use it as a tool to identify new opportunities that you want to beat your competitors with effectively? So that's one thing we're doing, and I think it highlights a lack amongst businesses. But if they can get over that, I think they can start to use that data really efficiently. So we're helping in that way. And you're asking about things that are working well or not.
In general, I mean, across the industry.
Yeah, I think it's really tough nut to crack, but I think sometimes the solution to sustainability in a particular sector is through collaboration between businesses that are still and probably will always remain competitors. So there's a lot of talk around this idea of collaborative advantage. So if a sector can come together and start to look at a particular problem together as a group, then perhaps they can nail the issues that surround that in sustainability terms. So take a piece of packaging. Is there a baseline form for that packaging that solves the issue of recyclability or solves the issue of refillability of that piece of packaging, say shampoo, anything? But then the brand can then concentrate on innovating in other ways. What do you add to that piece of packaging that makes it unique to your brand? You can innovate in ways that perhaps are more meaningful to customers. So I guess what I'm saying there is there's opportunity for collaboration that ultimately I think would unlock, more innovation and more excitement for brands around the products they create.
Right. It's interesting to know that design organisations work together on those things that they can collaborate effectively on.
It's not widely distributed, but it's starting to happen. And I think it's another piece of the designer's arsenal that they have to start to take on board as a skill set, is thinking in terms of systems. Right. So again, like what happens to a product at the end of its life, I think a designer has to understand waste streams. They understand how local authorities take products back from our homes when we finished with them. Yeah. They have to understand how manufacturers might have to redefine a product category in line with, say, disassembly, taking a product apart, using parts again, taking materials out and putting them back into the material stream that ultimately goes into new products. So it's a much more complex, well, certainly from when I started out as a designer, it's a much more complex environment. And I think designers do a lot more than they are often credited, but often they do a lot more than they perhaps were initially trained to do. But I think that's the excitement of it. I think there's a lot to be done, and designers are brilliantly positioned to try and link up all of these different parts of what businesses need.
So you've given us a good insight into the design part, if you like, and what may be lying ahead in the future for us. Let's go back to the anthropology, the social anthropology bit you were talking about. I know that's part of your background. Looking ahead, what are some of the issues and trends we're going to need to anticipate in the future around the anthropology, the way people behave and think?
I think, as we talked about, I think sustainability is going to be more and more critical for consumers, and particularly the brands that are sort of making products for them. I think the idea of increased personalisation of products for people is going to continue as a trend. So, in the medical space, there's a lot of development of therapies and medical products that are tailored to us specifically, whether that's our genome or we're sending samples into a lab that start to craft medical interventions that are more bespoke to us. And I think we're going to start to see that much more in lifestyle environments as well. So what if cosmetics, or what if products for our hair or our skin were tuned to be most beneficial for us as individuals rather than just as generic solutions for all. So we're definitely going to see more in that space. I think in other areas, I think we're going to start to see more. I mentioned that data piece where we're sort of supporting cleaning up of that data. I think we're going to see a lot more in businesses using that data to drive new innovations rather than just tick boxes about having understood it and orchestrating that data in clearer ways for themselves.
I mean, the whole area of personalised care is fascinating, really, and alongside all the other things you were talking about. So what is Crux doing to make sure that you're ahead of the game when it comes to these factors shaping the future of design?
I think in that instance, Crux has a really powerful. We sit in a really powerful space in the medical sector, so we're really trusted by brands to not only solve problems but start to strategize with them around what the future holds. And I think that puts us in a really strong position. I think in seeing what's happening in the medical space, and we do work, with big lifestyle consumer product companies as well, but I think we understand the potential of what is happening in pharma and in medical, and how that could easily translate into new opportunities in more consumer-oriented products like hair, body care, and others. So I think, for us, I think it allows us to be confident in those spaces, and give confidence to our clients as well, that they can trust us to make really meaningful design interventions in those spaces as well.
Yes. And in terms of keeping tabs on other aspects of the design world and what's going on, how do you make sure you're up to speed with that and keeping ahead of that?
I think, a few things. It's part of the job. The team are all interested. The team are all doing a number of things. We all report back to each other what's sort of exciting, what's taking place, and that's really wide sources. It could be just from newspapers, but it's also the design press. We do our own thought leadership projects. So we identify these really interesting spaces, and we put some time in to showcase what that could be. So we'll sketch out, why is this emerging as a consumer space or as an opportunity area for a brand, and then start to design the objects, digital, physical, that start to show that that's going to be a really viable, really exciting bit of product and consumer landscape. So we do that, and we travel to events as well. So we visit events, we speak at events, and so we're there at some of the key sector events across the year, making connections, having conversations, sharing our work. And so the team are sort of on receive and transmit mode throughout the years to kind of keep abreast.
Yes. And then sharing, like, go back to what you were saying about being collaborative, sharing what you can share and what makes sense to share.
Yeah.
And it also strikes me, picking up what you were saying about, you're proactive for what you're saying with clients. So it's not just them coming to you saying, here's a problem, help us solve it. You're going to them saying, here are some challenges you're going to have to think about in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Either as a process of Crux taking a stand in a particular sector or industry. So saying, this is our opinion on where this sector is moving, come and talk to us, because we really understand it, and we can help you understand it as well. But also more on a project by project or relationship by relationship basis, where it's part of that upstream thinking. So if we're strategizing with a client, we won't just offer the solution in the one space they're looking for. We can show them that there are other areas that could be of benefit to them, and allow them to, sense check, is the initial idea the right one? If we can zoom out a bit, what else can we see that could supersede that or occur in partnership with it? So, I guess we do it in two ways. We try and map out what the future holds and share that as much as we can, but then also we do it internally with clients as well, strategize with them and help them change themselves.
So I guess that means you must ask questions as much as you give information, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah. And trying to convert those questions, collaboratively into new opportunities for those clients. But yeah, absolutely, always listening is crucial.
Hugo, thank you. We've talked about a lot around design, what's coming in the future, what Crux is doing to stay ahead, and what you have done to help clients. So I guess to bring us into land, based on what we've talked about, what one thing would you like someone who's heard our conversation to take away?
I think this idea of Crux, I think quite uniquely, having this capability across the spectrum of what clients look to from design consultancies, design and engineering consultancies. So this idea of the experiential product engineering.
Yeah.
So we can help, and we do help, craft those experiences that then lead to conceptual products that show how those are going to fit in people's lives, again, physical, digital, sometimes spatial. And then the engineering piece, which is firstly about delivering stuff to market, but also about de-risking that whole process upstream. So I think that idea I think we're quite unique for, and I think is a brilliant offer to people.
Experiential engineering, then I'll take those two things away. Hugo, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for talking us through the approach to design. And thank you for joining us for this edition of the Crux Spotlight podcast. I look forward to seeing you again for the next one.